After I had ridden some distance away from my house, I was really in a state of pain at this point on my bike. I was riding up this hill with all of this traffic coming toward me, passing me by, and I was really like in my upper limit, in this great state of pain. I thought I was gonna die. I thought I couldn't make it. This was the path that I had to take riding to the gym almost every day for the whole month of August because I couldn't drive and there was no one to drop me on most of those days. I am incredibly grateful though that I had to go through this period of riding to the gym downhill, working out, and then riding all the way back uphill and just being in this state of pain, right? Being in my upper limit. Because that has grown me as a person, right? It has made me more mentally stronger. I wouldn't be as mentally strong as I am now if I didn't go through that period of a month. I just wanted to tell you that story as a hook so that you watch this video, but also because I want to tell you the story of how I've been through pain in my life, right? And how I've been dealing with pain and becoming more mentally stronger, and how I've become more mentally strong, right? I think gaining mental strength, and a lot of people who are mentally strong could agree with this, is simple, is just doing things that are hard and going through them, going through that wall of fire and coming out the other end, right? Going through adversity. B is harassing my phone. I don't believe that I'm fully like at Navy SEAL levels of mental strength yet because I still do panic when I'm in my upper limit, but my upper limit is definitely higher than what it was before, months and years ago. I remember that I used to be just so sensitive to the world around me, right? I would literally just get stressed over the smallest things. Like someone would just say something and it would really get to me, right? It would really upset me. But now I do deal with quite some stress at work and I'm able to go through it and overcome it without caving into that stress, right? And without that stress really affecting me that much. I just view that stress as an emotion that will pass if I just allow it. Because I have received verbal abuse before at work, right? I do work in a parking lot in kind of a dodgy neighborhood. So there's gonna be dodgy people saying dodgy things, doing dodgy things. And I've had to deal with that. And I couldn't have done it if I was not mentally strong beforehand. And it has probably made me more mentally strong. I guess that I can accredit a lot of this to the gym because going to the gym is painful, especially if you lift weights. But even doing cardio, right, doing any kind of exercise is painful. I do remember when I first began going to the gym, which I've been going for about almost 18 months now, right? Well, when I first began going, I was more mentally weak then, right? I had to literally stop the workout. Let's say it was back rows or whatever. I had to stop. I had to stop because it was just too painful mentally, right? I could deal with the pain physically, but mentally, I was just in such a state of fear. I was so panicked and stressed, right? I couldn't deal with it. I do like I don't know, like 12 to 18 reps of the seated divergent the diverging seated row to train my back. And I just stop like 2 or 3 times. Right? Going for the full like 18 or 23 reps was such a challenge for me. It was really a big challenge to not stop. That's how mentally weak I was. But now going to the gym for more than a year, I'm able to smash out a set without stopping once, right? It could be chest press, could be anything. You could accredit that to the fact that I've gotten stronger, so the weight is not as taxing on my body, right? Because I'm not that weak version of myself. But I do believe that it is mental strength to an extent. I'm just able to I'm just able to sit on the leg press and do like 20 to 30 reps and just observe like that pain, that state of pain that I'm in, that state of panic without giving into it. And I am still human though, right? I am still human. I still do feel like riding my bike to the gym and riding all the way back, right? I still do fear these things, but I just want to tell you my progress that I've made. And you could also accredit this to age, right? Of course, you're going to be more mentally weaker if you're younger, but I do know a lot of older people who are mentally weak, right? So it still does matter. Doing cardio, doing weightlifting, doing anything hard in general, right? Working long hours makes you more mentally strong. Doing something that you really do not want to do, that you really cannot be bothered doing. Discipline makes you more mentally strong. I've remembered every time that it's either a Sunday or a Wednesday, which used to be my leg days, right? Where I'd have to wake up and immediately go to the gym and train legs and come back. Right? That was something that I really did not want to do when I was laying there in bed when my alarm went off, but I did it anyway. Right? I've wired my mind to act that way, to do it anyway, to just know that it has to be done and that I'm creating more consequences if I don't do it. Not doing the things that I know I need to do is simply just not an option for me, right? It was an option when I was mentally weak, right? I can remember. I remember that I just tried to give excuses and really like try to convince people who were forcing me to do those things, which were parents, that I didn't need to do them, right? Even though I did need to. I accredit this a lot to meditation as well. I know that I've said doing anything hard will make you more mentally strong, but I've been meditating for 4 years, right? How can that not make me more mentally strong? I've been able to meditate for 2 hours straight outside. But because you have to sit there and deal with the emotion of impatience and getting impatience because you're starving your brain of stimulation. Right, I've been doing that for 4 years. How can I not become more mentally strong? And it's just the discipline of sitting down to do a meditation, which you know is going to be really tedious and boring, especially if it's like half an hour or an hour, which is how long my meditations are. So, it's the act of being disciplined, of doing it beforehand, like mastering up the discipline to do it, and also the act of being in your upper limit, that state of fear and pain of while you're doing it, right? That builds mental strength. I just find that I react to stressful situations a lot less. I I think I might have already said this, but I'll just say it again. I just find that I react to stressful situations with a lot more stoicism. These stressful situations which I would have panicked in like 3 or 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's a great quality of life improvement as well, right? Because you're not just so sensitive to the world around you, right? You're confident that you'll be able to go through that adversity and come out the other side, right? And of course, it might take some failures. Like, I've failed in the gym so many times. I've stopped because it got too hard, but I kept going. And now I'm at this point where I don't stop during a set, no matter how hard it gets. And especially during hamstring curls, right? That's an exercise where I really want to stop. But I've trained myself not to, right? It may take some failures for you to gain that mental strength. But yeah, it is a good skill to have that, especially if you're a man and you have higher testosterone. Right? I'm still working on my testosterone, but I know what it feels like. Right? I know what it feels like to just want to go through some challenge, especially if there's other people around and you want to show off to them or whatever, but especially just showing off to yourself. that you can go through that challenge because you're strong. And we have to talk about trauma as well, as well as pain, right? I have had thoughts that trauma does make you more mentally strong, right? But I'm not completely clear on this because there are different types of trauma. I remember that one trauma I had at the beginning of this year was I got sat salmonella poisoning, right? I got food poisoning. So my stomach was in like a great I say great as in big, a great state of pain, an immense state of pain, right? And that was quite traumatic for me. Imagine literally just screaming and moaning in pain because your stomach hurts that bad. And after that, I could feel more mentally capable, right? That adversity had built me up as a person, even though it was traumatic. But yeah, I'm not completely clear on that one because I guess there are some traumas which just make you feel like shit and nothing else, right? Like most of the traumas in my life have been MA 15 plus movies and even just M movies, which have traumatized me. I'm not completely clear on this thought of if it makes you stronger, right? From seeing that and going through that trauma. I guess if it's a physical trauma, then maybe, but I don't believe that there is any shortcut to becoming mentally strong. Right? That's the harsh truth. You've got to just go through those times where you think you're gonna faint. Right? I remember when I began riding all the way to the gym and then riding all the way back. I began doing that again at the beginning of this year. I could literally feel tears behind my eyes because it was that painful, right? I literally thought I was gonna cry. I had to get off my bike like once, and it was quite a challenge for me not to get off of my bike. You, especially as a man, I believe, especially as a man, you need to go through those times because I believe that those are the times that make your life interesting, that grow you as a person, right? That make your life interesting, right? It's only the times where you've been through challenge and come out the other end, or been through challenge and failed, right? Those are the times where you actually tell stories. It could be you going through an adversity of something that happened to you, or you creating adversity for yourself for the sake of becoming mentally strong, right? Because I do know that there are some people who are mentally strong because they were like pushed into hard circumstances, right? And then there are people who just have the easy life, which used to be past me, who are mentally weak. Giving into cravings makes you more mentally weak, right? You're just giving power to that evil part of your brain. If we have to speak metaphorically, if we have to speak in metaphors, you're giving power to that devil on your shoulder, right? Which is telling you to do the bad thing, right? This is why discipline is quite important. And the opposite, whenever you do the good thing, you're giving power to the angel. Of course, there are some scientific explanations for this, like the basal ganglia and the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, but it's just easier to explain it that way, isn't it? I used to give in to every craving when I was mentally weak, man. And that just makes you an untrustworthy person, right? All of these emotions are linked together, they're all correlated. You just become like this weird person who's just all over the place, who can't control themselves, who's emotional. And that's another big one, is controlling your emotions. I've found the ability of emotional regulation is a symptom of high mental strength, right? You just know that you're creating more consequences that are needed when you give into that emotion, be it anger, be it anything. I used to really struggle with emotions when I was younger, when I was mentally weak, right? I just say things. I just get angry at people. I just didn't know how to act, which again could be because I was just young, but I was still mentally weak. I've always found that when I don't go through adversity in my life, right, when I could just kind of live this easy life, I just lose respect for myself, right? Life feels boring. I always just feel this hype I do when I do those sessions where I ride all the way to the gym, work out, ride all the way back. I just feel so proud of myself. Like life has an interest to it. That life's interesting to live, right? Because I do know there are some people who just live that boring life. They they don't seem like they enjoy their life. I think that it is an important aspect to enjoying your life. And that, especially as a man, the only times that you can be proud of yourself are when you've been through challenge. I still don't believe that I've been through enough pain, right? I still do believe that I need to go through a lot more to develop myself as a person. Like, even recording these videos is hard, right? I still do believe that I'm small, and it does get tough, right? Especially if you're not sharing it with anyone, right? Especially if you're grinding alone. Because I remember in like PE class in school, in sports class, there was brotherhood. We had like boys only sports classes. We'd all like get bossed around by the coach, do a bunch of exercise, and I always felt brotherhood in those classes, right? Compared to just exercising alone. And that makes it even more interesting, is sharing it with other people, because it just becomes like a shared story. It becomes a story, but a shared story. You just kind of share the pain, right? It's just something that you bond over. I've seen people who have not been through enough pain in their lives, right? They have not worked on themselves. They have not trained their mental strength, and they get to an older age and they're just kind of in a bad position in life, right? They're not in a position that they want to be in. They have desires, but they're not doing anything to work towards them. They're just kind of complacent, right? They don't have the same kind of mental wiring that a mentally strong person has, that they need to get up and do things. They just kind of give excuses, right? Because simply because it was too painful for them. Not going through pain will have a toll on your life, right? You're not going to be proud of yourself anyway, and you're not going to build what you want to build. And that's scary for me, right? So I want to go through that pain. There are some people who are doing something that they don't like. Maybe they're with someone who they don't want to be. They're they've been struggling with the same things for years, right? I do not want to be like them, and I don't believe that I'm going to be like them if I continue on this path. What One of the things that has quite helped me is just believing in God, right? Just believing that there is a Lord in the sky up there that will help you, and that He is helping you, and that He is always there for you. I've seen I've observed the people who have been through immense amounts of pain, like the ex Navy SEALs or ex Marines, like I talked about at the beginning of the video. Like Goggins is a popular one that we all know of. It just seems like when they talk, everyone listens to them, right? They just have this aura that they've been through so much, that they have power, that they know what they're talking about, because they most likely do know what they're talking about. Looking back on your life, especially as a man, are you gonna really be proud that you didn't go through challenge? right? I don't even believe that it's even like building anything for yourself in that regard. I think it's just achieving something big and being proud of yourself and going through that challenge that has to happen. I'm gonna say it again. I'm so grateful that I went through that period in August where I was riding to the gym all the way, working out, riding all the way back, because that built me as a person, right? Even though I did fail sometimes, I got off of my bike because it was too hard. It had still built the perseverance in me to keep going, even though it's hard. And that is our goal, right? That is the skill that we're trying to level up, is to keep going even though it's hard, even though we don't want to. Training my mental strength has been great, right? It's a great quality of life improvement, especially as a man, because it just gives you this confidence that you can do hard things and come out the other end, even if it's dreadful, even if you're afraid of it, right? Even if you've done it before, so you know how hard it is, so you dread it even more. Just do hard things, dude. It will grow you as a person, right? Just progressively overload. Just start small and then build on top of it day after day. That's what I've done. You actually begin to fix things in your life instead of wallowing over them, I think is the right word. Instead of feeling sorrow for yourself, right? You actually begin to work towards something when you find a problem. When you find a problem, you find a solution instead of just giving into emotions about it, about how it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Because I definitely used to be like that. And it's also because of living a healthy lifestyle, right? Of course, you're going to get mentally weak if you're just always giving in to the easy things. You're not going through effort and then getting a reward. I have this a lot at work, right? I think my job has trained me mentally. One, because it's physical labor, and two, because of long hours. Right? I just check my watch and I feel dread that I've got like 2 hours left, or some amount of hours left, right? And it's just going through that dread and doing it anyway that I believe has made me more mentally stronger and made me more wired for hard work, right? Because now I just don't really dread it that much, right? I comprehend it, but don't I don't feel the same way, right? I don't feel the same dread. And yeah, that's two. One, because it's physical labor, because I have to like push trolleys around. My calves burn all the time, right? That's hard. Just do hard things, bro. Even if you fail, just keep going.